Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddhang dhammang sanghang namasami. So we've been together for a week. Today is Friday, and we gathered Friday evening a week ago, even though it might feel like a month or a year, or even 10 years. A week? What? So, but yeah, that's what the calendar says. And our retreat now is entering its last days. We'll be heading in our separate directions on Sunday, and so the mind naturally considers how to continue the practice and the spirit of these say this way of being, these teachings in the other world. I won't say the real world, but the other world of the workplace, the family, the big city, or wherever you happen to live, different countries, people going back to Singapore, Malaysia, people going back to Australia, and going back to England. So that say brings to mind the particular considerations about how to sustain the practice. Well, one of the things that is most significant, and kind of quietly significant, but very obvious when you think about it, is that we are all together. There's 70 or 80 of us gathered in this place, and so the effect of that presence is supportive. That being together with 70 or 80 like-minded people and committing our time, our attention, our energy to meditation, to contemplating the teachings, to living simply, to being restrained, that is creates a very, very supportive atmosphere. If you were the only one here trying to meditate and everyone else was singing and dancing and having a party every evening for the week, it would be very difficult. You would have a much more challenging time, maybe insightful, but probably more distressing and difficult and hard work. So in terms of our daily life practice, and again, I underscore the fact I've never tried to live as a lay Buddhist, so I can't really speak from direct experience. But I would suggest that one of the most important things in sustaining the practice is staying close to good people. And we have recited the Mangala Sutta, the highest blessings, many times, and the first verse of that, Asevana Chabalanang Panditanang Chasevana. This is, literally number one on the list of what are the highest blessings. The Buddha says, avoiding those of foolish ways, associating with the wise, and honoring those worthy of honor. These are the highest blessings. A mangala is a blessing. Often it means a kind of protective charm, like an amulet, a prakruang, or a tattoo, or a mantra that you recite, or some kind of magical spell. And the background to this sutta, this devata comes along to the Buddha and says, what are the best mangalas? What are the best kind of protections or blessings, or what kind of magical resources are available? That's the sort of, again, the unspoken background in using the word mangala. But in the teaching, the Buddha doesn't mention amulets, tattoos, mantras, yantras, or any kind of magical items that provide protection. But what he does talk about is the choices that we make, the things that we do. This is where the source of highest blessings are. It's not having ancient Buddha images on your shrine or a Somdet Do amulet. The real protection is Sevana Chabalanang. Don't associate with foolish people. Yeah. Panditanancha Sevana, draw close to good people. So to the extent possible, I strongly encourage you to stay close to each other, either in the Buddhist groups or keeping in contact online or going on retreats together, going to teachings together. This is a very, very significant thing. It's not an accident that the Buddha set up the Sangha as a kind of organized, formally arranged spiritual community as the main vehicle for his teaching carrying through time and helping beings to be liberated. He saw this all is doable if we help each other. If we're trying to do it on our own, it's really impossible, really difficult. So number one on the list of things to do, handy hints for us to say put energy and effort into in terms of sustaining our practice, is drawing close to good people, sapurisa sangseva, so that asevana chabalanang, not to associate. Seva is to associate, asevana, not to associate chabalanang, with the bala, with the crazy people, with the konpa, with the bala, the crazy, and don't associate with foolish people. Panditanancha, wise, educated, skillful people, draw close to them. So also, number one on the list of factors supportive for stream entry is sapurisa sangseva, to draw close to sapurisa, to good people, to well-rounded people. And again, that's not an accident. If we really want to do the best that we can spiritually with our life, then draw close to good people and develop that quality of spiritual friendship, whether it's physically close or just in Dhamma groups online or however we might carry that out. But cultivating that quality of spiritual friendship is extremely significant. It's, as I said, it's kind of an invisible, or not invisible, it's not an obvious thing, but when you think about it, the fact that there's 70 other or 80 other people in the room, all trying to calm their mind and focus our attention to be awake, makes it much easier for you. And also you are contributing to the atmosphere, helping to make it easier for others. In one of the significant teachings I like to quote from the suttas, is where the Buddha speaks in detail about the origins of avijja, ignorance. It's not something that's talked about very much. In one teaching in the Majjhima Nikaya, in the Samaditi Sutta, I think he talks about the asavas, the outflows, being the fuel for ignorance, for avijja, for not seeing clearly. But in a particular sutta in the Book of the Tens, in the numerical discourses, that he spells it out in quite some detail. What he says is, if you don't draw close to good people, if you don't make the effort to draw to be in the company of sapurisa, then that reduces the number of opportunities you have to listen to good teachings, sadhamma savana. If you don't listen to good teachings, to helpful spiritual teachings, then that will be a cause for your faith diminishing. When your faith in spiritual practice, spiritual teachings diminishes, as that fades, then the result of that is you're less reflective. You don't consider your life. You live in a kind of in an unconscious worldly way. If you don't develop yoniso manasikara, if you instead follow the ayoniso manasikara, then if you don't reflect on your life, then you also reduce the quality of sati sampajanya. Mindfulness and full awareness is reduced. If you're not reflective, you're less mindful. If you're less mindful, then you are less restrained. The indriya sangvara is the Pali sangwon. There's less restraint. So in Thailand, I think there's quite a good sense for this. The quality of restraint as a spiritual attribute. When explaining this, when we talk about what do we mean by a lack of sense restraint, I feel that the most helpful way of describing it is that it's when you're reactive rather than responsive. So something's attractive and you just chase after it. Something is irritating and you just push it away or criticize it. Something it makes you anxious, so you run away, you distract yourself. So living reactively is the result of a lack of mindfulness and full awareness. To live responsively is where you like something and then there's a consideration. Okay, I like this. Can I afford it? Is it appropriate for me to pursue this, or to be with this, to eat this, or to be with this person, or to buy this? If something is irritating or painful, then if we are responsive rather than reactive, then we can feel, well, this is uncomfortable, but do I need to make a problem out of it? Do I need to make a protest, or do I need to complain to everybody about how uncomfortable I am? Or can I work with it internally? So this is Indriya Sangvara. Then if there's a lack of mindfulness and full awareness, then there's a lack of sense restraint. When there's a lack of sense restraint and we live reactively, then that provides fuel for the unwholesomeness in thought, unwholesomeness in speech, and unwholesomeness in action. The three sort of areas of unwholesome activity, akusala kamma. So then when we act and speak and think in an unwholesome way, then that feeds the five hindrances, the niwon. We've spoken about the niwon ha, sense desire, ill will, restlessness, dullness, and skeptical doubt. And if the five hindrances are provided with that kind of extra fuel, they are the support, the fuel for ignorance, for avidya. That is the power source for ignorance. And then the Buddha uses this image of rain falling onto the hilltops, very appropriate for the rainy days we've had here. So just as when rain falls onto the mountain, first of all, it forms into little puddles, and the puddles form into small streams, and the streams flow down and form into bigger pools, and the bigger pools feed the rivers, and the rivers flow down and fill up the ocean, and thus the ocean is filled with water. In the same way, ignorance is filled up by this causal chain. But then the good news comes in part 2. If you draw close to good people, satpurisa sangseva, if you draw close to sapurisa, good people, well-rounded people, then that creates more causes for you to listen to the good teachings, sadhamma savana. If you listen to good teachings, that increases faith. With the increase of faith, there's an increase of yoniso manasikara, wise reflection. With the increase of wise reflection, there's an increase of sati sampajanya, mindfulness and full awareness, or intuitive awareness. With the increase of sati sampajanya, then that increases indriya sangvara, restraint. You're living more responsively rather than reactively. And if you are practicing indriya sangvara, that restraint, then that reduces the amount of unwholesome thought, unwholesome speech, and unwholesome action. With the reduction of the unwholesome and the support of wholesome thought, wholesome speech, and wholesome action that comes from Indriya Samvara, then this provides support to the four foundations of mindfulness: mindfulness of the body, mindfulness of feelings, mindfulness of moods, and then mindfulness of the nature of reality. So then the four foundations of mindfulness then lead to and provide the fuel for the seven factors of enlightenment, and the seven factors of enlightenment provide the fuel, the support, the power source for full knowledge and liberation. Ta-da! So it all starts off with Sapurisa Sangseva. It all begins with Asevanacha Balanang, drawing close to good people, avoiding unhelpful people. Now, when I make a big thing of this, which I often do, people say, Ajahn, I'd really like to avoid foolish people, but you don't know my family. So kind of almost guaranteed, probably a few of you were thinking that already, like, oh, you want to meet my boss? Ah. So it's understandable that sometimes we have agency, we can make choices, sometimes we can't make choices. But as I was saying yesterday about carrying people around, even if your boss has got a difficult character, a difficult personality, or someone in your family is very challenging, you don't have to carry them around. You don't have to leave the room every time they walk in. That's a bit much. But you can quite skillfully and mindfully not let them take up residence in your citta, as they say, not let them live free in your mind. That you don't have to carry them around. When there is a choice to be around difficult people, crazy people, or challenging people, or people with unskillful habits, where there is a choice, then make the choice to not hang around, not be there, not associate. But if you do have to be around people who are drinking, or who are very worldly or aggressive or competitive, and that, just to be considering, okay, how much value do I really have to give to this person's attitudes? Do I have to carry them around with my list of complaints about what's wrong with them? Like, all the things that are wrong with your aunt or your uncle or your father or your mother, your partner. But to not just physically not associate, but mentally not to associate, if you understand what I mean. Also, nowadays with so much social media and online connections, I would say also asevana chabala, not to associate with foolish people through the media, through the television, or through the internet, or through social media. Yeah, how much time do we have to spend reading other people's comments about the lunch they ate, or where they've gone on holiday? And do we really need to be filling our attention with a lot of the things that are put out into the world? So that's a first item, I would say, to encouraged as a way of sustaining the spirit of this retreat and the quality of practice. Another obvious one is that we've all been keeping the precepts, living here together during this time. The 8 precepts has been the standard, and that's not expected for everyone in your ordinary everyday lives, but certainly the 5 precepts is highly recommended. And that, again, you can't control what the other people around you are doing, but you can control your own actions, your own speech. And so that is a very powerful support, because during this week together, then no one has deliberately killed anything. Panatipata viramani. So we don't have to regret having taken the life of even of an insect. We've been careful with and respectful of the lives of other things, haven't stolen anything, and so on. So that if we sincerely take the 5 precepts and keep them and use that as a framework for our life, it makes for a very profound foundation of peacefulness. The little verse that we recite at the end of the 5 precept ceremony, imani panchasi karpadani silena sugatingyanti silena poga sampada silena niputingyanti tasamat silang visodaye. So that little verse, maybe some of you have read the translation, maybe not. So what it means is these are the 5 precepts. Imani panchasi karpadani silena sugatingyanti. To live virtuously leads to happiness, to sugati. Silena bhoga sampada, to keep the precepts leads to bhoga, which means true wealth. It doesn't mean you'll win the lottery or that your business will make a pile of money, but it means that you'll have a quality of contentment, of you won't be creating the cause of a sense of lack or craving. So bhoga sampada, there's a quality of abundance or fullness. In Pali, punna, not punya, but punna. The Sanskrit is purna, meaning fullness or completeness. So that there's a quality of wholeness, completeness, no sense of lack. Silena nibutinyanti. Nibuti is coolness, peacefulness. So to keep the precepts leads to coolness, leads to that quality of ease and relaxation, peacefulness. Tasma silang visodaye. So therefore, let the precepts be purified. So establishing the 5 precepts as the framework for relating with your family, in the workplace, on the street, in society, is very very supportive to our own lives. But also, I like to emphasize that the Buddha didn't just talk about the precepts as a set of limitations. Don't do this, don't do that, don't do this, don't do that. But in a particular teaching called the 8 streams of merit, the 8 rivers of punya, of Boon, the Buddha said there are these 8 great streams, 8 rivers of punya, of blessing, that have been respected since ancient times, that are respected and revered by the wise, and that bring great good fortune and great happiness, great peace. They're a great force of beauty and goodness in the world. And what are these 8 streams? So the first 3 are taking refuge in Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha. They're the refuge in the 3 jewels, the triple gem. So those are 1, 2, and 3. And then the last 5 are the 5 precepts. And so in this teaching, he calls the 5 precepts the 5 great gifts, mahadana, which is interesting. How many people think of the precepts as a gift? But what he says is, if you take the precept to not deliberately take life, you grant to innumerable numbers of beings freedom from fear, freedom from distress, freedom from anxiety. And in turn, you bring to yourself, to your own life, freedom from fear, freedom from distress, freedom from anxiety. So it's a gift. You're giving that. So this is called abhayadana, the gift of fearlessness. So that's a direct result of keeping the precepts. So similarly with not taking what is not given, adinadana, kame sumichachara, musawada, and sura meraya. So if you are refraining from lying, you're refraining from sexual misconduct, you're refraining from stealing, and you're refraining from using drugs and alcohol, this is a gift. You're a blessing to the people around you, to the animals that you're not killing, the people who know that, oh, you can trust her. You can leave your bag on your desk and go out for a walk, and she won't be going through your things. That when you say something, people know, oh, he's telling the truth. You don't have to be suspicious that he's deceiving you or trying to get something from you. That it's you're a blessing. It's a stream of merit, a stream of punya. So of course, if you go around thinking, I keep the precepts, I'm a blessing in your life. You're so lucky to have me in the family. I'm the moral torchbearer. in this family. You know, you're so fortunate. At least one of us is virtuous. That's called being a pain in the neck. That does not help anybody, to be kind of waving your virtue in there, or pushing your virtue into people's faces. That does not help. But just seeing the natural chemistry, if we live by the 5 precepts, if we keep the 5 precepts, that how abhayadana works, that giving of fearlessness. The monastery that I helped to establish in America, Abhayagiri, often when Thai people came to visit, they thought, why did you call this Forgiveness Mountain? Because in the Thai language, Abhay means to forgive. It comes from the word Abhaya, meaning fearless. So it doesn't mean Forgiveness Mountain, it means Fearless Mountain, named after an ancient monastery in Sri Lanka. And so how is forgiveness related to fearlessness? Well, in exactly the same way, along with keeping the precepts being abhayadana, that being people and other living beings don't have to be afraid of you. They don't have to be suspicious that you want to get something from them, you're going to steal something from them, you're going to take advantage of them or get them into trouble. So the connection, as I understand it, between forgiveness and fearlessness is, if you don't carry around any grudges, any negativity, if you forgive the people who've hurt your feelings, who've done you wrong, then again, you're giving that quality of spaciousness and ease, so that abhaya is to, if you forgive people, if you're not carrying negativity around, then you are making a very peaceful atmosphere. People, if you have a lot of negativity and resentment against someone, and you walk in the room, then immediately they're going to be defensive, or they're going to attack you, or they're going to leave the room. If they know that you're not carrying around a grudge, patika in Pali, you're not carrying around a negativity or resentment, or you're not kind of got a vendetta against them, then when you come in the room, they might say, oh, it's him. Oh, okay, yeah, I know, it's good between us now. I can relax, abhaya, free from fear, because that person is not carrying any ill will towards you. So again, one of the things that we can take from this retreat and bring into our house, the household life, on Sunday, after we finish the retreat formally in the early morning, and there'll be a part of the ending of the retreat will be a asking for forgiveness ceremony. That's not just a little Pali ritual that happens at the end of a retreat. That can be a daily practice that you do in your family, in the workplace, at least within yourself, of say, by body, speech, or mind, whatever I have done that has been painful or upsetting or irritating to you, I ask for your forgiveness. So, and then similarly, I forgive you for anything that you have done that has upset me. So that conscious letting go, forgiving, and say, allowing people to have made mistakes, and you're not carrying around a grudge. That's an attitude that we can cultivate, and is a great blessing. It's a very beautiful thing to bring into the world. Another aspect of that, which is a little bit more challenging, is in this retreat, we have people have name tags, but it's all fairly anonymous. And, you can be sort of blob number 3, row 5, blob number 1, row 2. It just doesn't really make our personalities, our careers, our achievements, our titles, our university degrees don't really matter very much. Blob number 7, row 8, frog number 5, row 16. It's quite a relief. So that what that means, or why this is significant, is I don't think that any of us have a lot of expectations about each other. We're not saying you should be a better meditator, or maybe some of you feel like that. You're going up to someone, you're not trying hard enough, or you should do more of this. You should do less of that. We don't have a lot of expectations for each other. So another of the aspects of giving people space, the abhaya dana, and this is a kind of a refined practice, particularly but it's very useful with your work colleagues, particularly if you're a boss or a senior person in a family, particularly if you're an elder in a family, is to not have expectations of other people, not be looking to get something back from your team, your workers, your family members, your children, your grandchildren. That sense of entitlement is a lot of dukkha. Expectation, I'm doing this for you, so you should do this for me. Like it's a kind of business deal. That's a pretty painful state to be in. And so that speaking from experience, the less expectations that we have of each other, not that we don't care, but that if I'm not expecting or looking for anything back from any of you, then that's very spacious, very peaceful. So if people do say, oh, thank you very much, Ajahn, or can I give you this flower? And you go, oh, thank you very much. Nice surprise. But you're not expecting anything. You're not saying, well, no one said thank you. No one's given me any flowers. I'm not appreciated here. I need to be respected. I should be appreciated. And even I'm kind of hamming it up a bit, but as soon as you think I should be appreciated, it means people are going to appreciate you much less. As soon as you demand respect, no one feels much respect for you. I would tend to say it's a bit of a generalization, but I would say that's I should be respected. Then he's got it really badly. So the more that we give each other space, we don't have expectations. We're not trying to get anything back from anyone. Then life is very open, very, very easeful. And this was a very obvious characteristic of Luang Por Chah, that he didn't need to get anything from any of his disciples. He wasn't looking for praise. He wasn't looking for any kind of affirmation. I couldn't understand the language very much at all, but just his whole manner, the way he related. If people say, oh, Luang Por, you're so wise, you're so wonderful, he would just he wouldn't be flattered, if you know the word flattery. Like, he wouldn't say, oh, yes, thank you very much, I'm very wise indeed. You're so discerning to see how wise I am. He didn't need to be loved. He didn't need to be praised. He didn't need to be appreciated. He just offered the teachings, offered his example, and then whatever people want to do with it, that's your business. And again, I couldn't follow the language very much, but just his whole mode of speaking, of acting, and relating, you realize, wow, he doesn't need anything from anybody. He's a totally free being. And that so similarly, if you don't have expectations of people, you don't feel let down. If somebody behaves in a really stupid way, they're selfish, or they get angry, get upset, you don't feel, oh, I'm disappointed in you, or oh, you really let me down, or you've really disgraced Wat Pah Pong. It's like, even saying those words, it's like, it's hard to even pretend to act those words, because Luang Por Chah would never ever think, not even 1 millimeter in that direction. So if we really let go of each other and don't have expectations, then you never feel betrayed. You never feel let down by anybody. Wouldn't that be nice? No one disappoints you. And so I realize that's a bit of a stretch, but it's a kind of a challenging area of Dhamma practice. But in terms of attitude, and if we want to cultivate a spacious and peaceful life, this is a significant part of that. And I feel that the more that we can do that, then that's also a gift to others. I remember saying to one of the Mechi, the Anagarikas at Amaravati, who came from a very sort of rigid family. When I got the sense that her family had a lot of expectations that she'd had to deal with in her professional life. She'd been very successful professionally, but anyway, it seemed like, and I just made the comment to her. So I never feel let down by anybody, and the expression on her face was like such a concept, was something she'd never ever come across. She said, "Really?" So yeah, I don't feel disappointed in people, and you could almost sort of feel her family history kind of, and her working life of how many people saying, you let me down. You could have done better. You really are a disappointment. I thought you could have done that a much better job there. And so I feel that was that particular exchange. I thought, oh, this is a good point to make. This is something that's really helpful to develop in our lives, like to not be carrying around expectations and also that sense of needing to get something back from others, but rather that spirit of just, you put out what you can into the world, and then people do with it what they will. It's up to them. Not there. In terms of meditation, we've spoken about this a little bit already. So ideally finding time each day for some quiet sitting meditation in the morning or in the evening or midday, or wherever you can find some convenient space in your day when you're not going to be called upon or have to engage too much. That's helpful. But also, as Ajahn Jiew was reminding, or was bringing up, that I like to encourage what I call micro meditations. So this during the course of the day, particularly in the workplace, in the family home, just taking 5 seconds to stop, be still. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then carry on with your task. If you do it in the middle, if the rest of the family are in the living room while you do that, it can be a bit upsetting for people. I think, why is Mum just frozen solid? She in some kind of a thing? She's doing a meditation thing. Oh dear. So yeah, just choose the time and the place appropriately. But it is amazing how much more space there is in the day when we free the heart from that habit of becoming the next thing, the next thing, the next thing, the next thing. And we just stop. Come into a room, come into the kitchen, stop before you pick anything up, before you turn the tap on or pick up a cup. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. Going into the workplace, going into your office, sit down in the chair before you touch the keyboard or anything. Just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, let it begin. And it's a simple, very, very simple practice, but extraordinarily effective, because in that moment, 5 seconds can be quite a long time. You'll notice what is being carried around in the body and the quality of tension or stress, and that by just stopping, being still, then you can naturally let things relax. Another of the practices I like to encourage is in the home, in the workplace in particular, where there's a lot of activity. Go to the rooms where there's a lot of conversation, a lot of engagement, where you have to be a person. Your role as the parent or the doctor or the student or the teacher, the kind of the teacher's common room or whatever it might be. Going to a place where there's often gathering, conversation, you're having to perform particular roles, and just be there when there's nobody else around, just to feel the presence of that space. And so getting to sense the silence, the space, the stillness that's there behind all the conversations, behind all the personalities, behind all the decision making and discussion, behind the agendas and the debates. There's silence, stillness, spaciousness. And so over the years, I would do this quite a lot and found it very, very helpful just to sort of keep attentive. And in a way, it's more helpful to just have that as a basic recognition once or twice in the day, at the beginning of the day, end of the day, whenever you might fit it in, rather than trying to be mindful of some sort of mechanical activity during the course of a meeting or a conversation. Oh, a conversation. Oh, I should be mindful in this meeting. Be mindful, be mindful. And then you're so full of the idea of being mindful that you're not being mindful. You're kind of tripping over your own feet. And again, I speak from experience, trying to live at Amaravati in the 1980s, being sort of consciously mindful all the time. I would find I was often really out of tune with things, and that it was actually turned out to be more helpful just to establish the sense of silence, stillness, peacefulness, the morning meditation, then or going to the workplace, the building site if we were building something, or the office before anybody showed up, or in the evening after everyone is gone, and just recognizing, feeling, sensing that stillness, spaciousness, silence. And then during the course of the day, when you're in that space and you're taking care of all the responsibilities, something in you remembers, oh, actually, behind all of this, there is silence, there is spaciousness, there's stillness. And I found that was far more helpful of staying in tune with things than some sort of a kind of clumsy mindfulness that we can easily fall into. In terms of wise reflection, the yoniso manasikara, then one of the most helpful practices that Luang Por Chah encouraged is the way of developing the anicca sanya, the perception of uncertainty, impermanence, not sure, mainē. And we don't have to be in deep samadhi, we don't have to be in silence or in retreat. Just to be noticing, you're standing on the train platform waiting for the train, and then when's the train going to come? Mainē. Once you got on the train, are you sure it's going to get to the destination that you want to go to? Mainē. I just saw a news report that the brand new underground line in London, the Elizabeth line, named after Queen Elizabeth, all the trains stopped on the Elizabeth line for 3 hours because there was a swan on the line. Only in Britain would all the trains stopped to protect a bird. we love animals very much. Wild animals, pet animals. So there was a swan on the line, so all the trains stopped for 3 hours till they'd managed to gather up the swan and take it back to the river, and then trains could go again. So you get on the train, oh, we're not going anywhere. Swan on the line. So mainē is a very, very simple reflection in terms of the commitments you have, the routine that you have, what you expect to be happening during the course of a day. I can say, oh, I'm going to be going to Bangkok on Sunday. I've got a ticket. Well, am I? Will the planes be flying? Yeah. Who knows? Mainē, it's not a sure thing. I know I have a ticket. That's true, but will the plane be flying? Will I be on it? Who knows? Mainē, it's not a sure thing. So this deliberate cultivation of uncertainty, of anicca, again, it's a way of making much more space in our day. It reveals the presumptions we make about what we're doing, where we're going, what's happening, and it helps us to not be complacent, not to take things for granted, but to instead be recognizing, oh yeah, all of this is subject to the laws of nature. It's not a sure thing. Anicca, sabbe sankhara anicca. All conditioned things are uncertain. They're in a state of change. We don't know what they're going to change into. It's not a sure thing. So that's extraordinarily simple, but very effective. And Luang Por Chah would say, this is the pathway of the noble ones. This is the standard of the noble ones, of the Arya. This is the gateway to liberating wisdom. Simply recollecting, taking to heart, it's not a sure thing. This life is very uncertain. An extension of that is uncertainty, not just with events in our daily routine and program and so on, but uncertainty with respect to our opinions and judgments. So when and if it's very interesting to do, if you set the intention at the beginning of a day, say, to count how many judgments and how many opinions you have during a day. It's quite shocking, but it's in the hundreds for most people, I would say. This is beautiful, that's ugly, this is right, that's wrong, this is good, that's bad, I approve, I don't approve. And a very simple practice that Luang Por Chah would encourage with respect to that quality of uncertainty, or developing the anicca sanya in terms of our opinions and judgments and preferences, is to simply ask the question, is that so? Like, this is beautiful, is that so? This is awful, is that so? This is exactly what I wanted to happen, is that so? This is just what I didn't want to happen, is that so? And it can sound like a bit of a put down, like, no, is that so? Kind of as this, but it's not meant as a dismissal, but rather it's, in a sense, creating a bit of space around the judgments and opinions, the ditthi that we have. And that in that moment, there's a recognition of, oh, in my world, I call this ugly, or I call this delicious, or I call this beautiful, I call this wrong, or I call this good. That's only from this version of the world. Aha. So it's again, it's a direct source for the cultivation of wisdom, of satipanya. So that again, it takes a bit of effort to remember to do that. But if you notice how many judgments you make during a day, and just ask, Jingla, is that true? Is that so? Jingla, oh, is that right? Then, oh yes, of course, it's just my opinion, it's just a judgment, it's just my preference. Aha. So that has a very direct and potent effect. And even more simple is the one-word practice of so. This is great. So. This is awful. So. My mind is all over the place. So. My mind is really focused. So. And again, it's a very leveling kind of a practice. When we're praising ourselves or excited about something that we like, it helps to kind of bring things down to a bit more of a balanced level. Or if we're self-critical or we're feeling disappointed, oh, that's really a shame. Oh, that's exactly what I didn't want to happen. So, oh, okay, that was just my expectation. It helps to raise the mind up. So it's a very, very, very simple but very powerful balancing agent, and it's amazing how such a simple reflection, very uncomplicated, if that's applied, how much that changes your world. I can't guarantee for all of you, but if you try it out and work with it, there's a lot of oh right, yes, well, that makes a difference. It really freshens up the world that we are experiencing moment by moment. So these are a few hints, possibilities, a few threads to consider. We still have tonight and all day tomorrow, Saturday night and early Sunday morning, before things come to a conclusion. So it's a lot, and as we know, a day, an hour, a minute can be a really long time. 5 seconds can be a really long time. So, but just to be putting some of those thoughts into consciousness, to bringing that up, to consider how to sustain the spirit of this endeavor into the broader world. So I offer these thoughts for consideration this evening.